All right, let's get on to our first phone-in today. Is the Chancellor up to the job? Now, you can see on the front page of the Telegraph here, there is Rachel Reeves, and the headline is really quite remarkable. Reeves, I won't let them get me down. I mean, to me, that sounds like a reality TV show contestant who's just come out of the diary room. I'm not going to let them get me down. I don't know how chancellorish it sounds. But anyway, she's referring to the fact that economists have blamed her for the economy's slow rate of growth. The Telegraph writes that the defiant Chancellor likens herself to Thatcher as critics call for her to quit over poor growth. We're going to be taking your calls on this today, so do get in touch. Guto, a few things to take in here, really. Would you say that Rachel Reeves is similar to Margaret Thatcher in any way whatsoever?
In the sense that politics is an extremely rough game, and anyone in politics seems to be, up for grabs, and the public have no restraint in the sort of hatred and contempt that they direct towards them. And if you are in arguably, one of the most important jobs in politics, which she is, at a tough time, then you've got to be unbelievably resilient to cope with that. And I admire her for her resilience. I actually, have no time for the slightly misogynist thing that she's actually Rachel from accounts. I have no doubt at all she's a well-educated economist with, a decade of experience that is really...
Although, I mean, one has to agree, some element of obfuscation in her CV. I mean, she wasn't quite the stellar economist that it was projected that she was.
I'm prepared to park all that. So for me, what's relevant...
But why? Why would you park that?
Because what's important and what are the decisions she's taken? And this is where I change tack now, because I think she has taken decisions that are actively destroying jobs, undermining growth, punishing the wealth creators and the job creators in Britain. And so she is culpable, not because she's stupid or because she's, dodged her CV or whatever it is, but she has taken decisions that are actually generating the polar opposite of what she says she wants.
And when you say decisions, you mean the increase in national insurance
payable by
businesses?
The increase in national insurance, really devastating. A big hit for farmers as well. Also, and it's not just her, but this government, the new sort of workers' rights package, sounds great in terms of giving rights to people whose jobs are pretty secure anyway, but it stops those small businesses from actually hiring people because it puts them off. So again, it may be sort of well-motivated, but it's actually destroying growth. So yes, she's right to be criticised, but for the right reasons, for the decisions she's taken.
So Nelufar, do you think that it is the Chancellor's decisions that have halted growth in this way, because the growth forecast is very disappointing and the achievement is disappointing, or do you think it's a combination of circumstances and can't all be laid at her door?
9 months. She's been in the job 9 months. It's ludicrous to assume that she single-handedly, with no other intervention, no other outside kind of perspective or thing considered, is responsible for the stagflation that we're apparently diving into. I can't understand how anyone would assume that this woman, who's been in this role for 9 months, is single-handedly responsible for that. And I want to make a couple of things clear, which is really important from the off. That, as the Tories have often told us ad nauseum, there's no magic money tree, okay? There's no way to go and shake some money into the economy as she needs to do. And money needs to be invested into the economy, into social services, into public services. So she's got very, very few levers to pull. Tax is one of them, and the other one is relief. So she's choosing to tax people or the right entities. She had a choice. Are you going to raise national insurance on the employees or the employers? She made the right choice. This is what I'm seeing here is essentially her plans and the consequences of her actions playing through. This woman has done nothing wrong in 9 months. Maybe we shouldn't give her 14 years, Vanessa, but we should give her at least a year or two.
Let me talk to Guto a bit about what's called the feel-good factor. That factor that makes somebody think, don't like my curtains, I think I'll change them for some blinds. Or, the car's getting really rickety, we might replace the car. It's a feel-good factor. You have to feel that there's something buoyant going on, feel you could go and spend, that feeling. Is it possible to say that Rachel Reeves has been the exact antithesis of that? She has brought about a feel-bad factor, talking about the huge chasm of debt that Labour have inherited, and then talking everything down in this gloomy, kind of repressive way that makes people think, oh, God, I was thinking of, getting the drive re-gravelled, but I'm not doing that now because I, could do it if I can afford it.
Absolutely. Last summer, it was a relentless diet of we are going to go, we are in a bad place. And guess what? It becomes a self-fulfilling self-fulfilling thing. And the more you do that, the more you destroy business confidence. But actually, the heavy lifting on inflation, for instance, was done in the last 2 years under Rishi Sunak. Inflation caused by global factors came down from double digits to 2%. That was one decent bit of economic management. And now it's going back up. And growth is actually going down. And the cost of borrowing has gone up to where it was. It's like Liz Truss in real time. Liz Truss did it on speed. It was a mad moment, that lasted a month. But we're seeing the same thing happening in real time. And she's not putting the brakes on.
The last budget in October was not one that was anti-growth. It was one that was very pro-growth.
It was. It took £25 billion out of the economy on top of the taxes that were already too high.
She has to balance it. And it's not just her that gets to pull any of these levers that I'm speaking about. The Bank of England has a large say on what the base rate is, how inflation is controlled in this country, and more so. That's probably where she has to kind of do the hardest work.
As you can see, feelings running high here. And after it was announced that the UK's economy had grown by just 0.1%, some economists have pointed the finger at Rachel Reeves, saying that her budget has dragged the economy into stagnation, even stagflation. The Prime Minister said the figures reflect a step in the right direction. And the Chancellor has claimed it'll take time to grow the economy. She added that she wouldn't let her critics get her down and that she was in the job for the long haul. However, analysts had expected that the UK would expand by double the amount and have blamed Labour's tax hikes for the slow growth. So, Nelufar, you don't like to blame Rachel Reeves. You think she hasn't really had enough chance to make a difference. But do you think she knows where she's going and what it is she's trying to do?
I think so. I think there is a plan. And I think she's got, in fact, I think she's got a longitudinal plan far more than the 4 or 5 years that she's going to be in office. That Starmer has said again and again that she's not going anywhere. Listen, Kwasi Kwarteng, the trusted and loved Chancellor, has agreed, saying that once you lose your Chancellor, the premiership of the entire government can be in question. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't think she's going anywhere.
Well, but let us see whether our callers agree with you, because let's go straight to Ian, who's on the line in Blackpool. Hello, Ian. Thanks for calling. Morning.
Hello, morning.
Hi. We're looking at Rachel Reeves, and you can see, I don't know whether you read how many different papers you look at or whatever, but people are gunning for her. They're saying, that she's for the chop, that she's not going to be around for very long. And they said that about Tulip Sadiq and bye-bye Tulip. So do you think Rachel might go the same way? And if she does she deserve it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely, hopefully. But I think ever since Labour got back into power, over 6 months ago, I think they've completely gone down the wrong directions on everything. And I live with elderly parents too, and they used to get the winter fuel payment, and we worked it out that they're just over the threshold by just over nearly £28, something like that.
My goodness, really?
Yeah.
So that is right down to the wire. Wow.
Yeah, which is terrible, really, I think. And, all you keep hearing is about the 22 billion black hole. That's all their excuse.
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, they've been in charge 6-7 months now, and really, what have they done? Really much? They ain't really done nothing. And
so very simple question, Ian, for you. Can I ask you just simple question? You and your parents, you live with your elderly parents. Yes. Do you feel at this point worse off than you were before Labour came to power?
Yes. I think, say, the economy isn't growing. And immigration, there's been over, nearly 25,000 more immigrants that have come across the channel since they've been in power, and they've not done nothing about that. And also, I think that the Chancellor and the government could really save millions of taxpayers' money by looking at the prison system, by potentially anyone that's convicted of murder or other serious offences, then they should look at bringing the capital punishment back.
Oh, well, goodness, Ian, this is not a capital punishment discussion, Ian, but thank you very much indeed for calling. And obviously you're saying you feel worse off under this particular Chancellor. Let's go to Lorraine, who's in Somerset. Hello, Lorraine. I hear you have words of favour for Rachel Reeves, actually.
Yes, I have indeed. Hello?
Hello, yes. What has she done that's impressed you, Lorraine?
She's tried to clean up the mess, basically. That's what this Labour government is doing. Remember, we had the Conservatives in for how long? I'm a retired operating theatre sister. Right. I'm a registered general nurse. I'm a state-certified midwife. And I had to sit back and watch the Conservative government completely and utterly destroy the NHS. And there are other problems as well, like the civil service, the prison service, whatever. This government is going to be taking a while. It's going to need money and it's going to need time to sort the mess out.
Lorraine, just give me one example. Obviously, you're speaking from personal experience. When you say you feel that the last government, the Tory government, destroyed the NHS, in what way? Give me one example of what you saw happen that you thought was wrong.
It became over-bureaucratic. It was too interested in management and not enough treatment for the patient on the ward, in the clinic, whatever.
Let me bring Guto in here to say. So Lorraine thinks that Rachel Reeves is busy clearing up the mess left by the Tory government.
If she was actually getting rid of that bludgeoning bureaucracy that's running the NHS appallingly, yes, we'd be on the same page. But that's not what Rachel Reeves's job is.
No.
And she, has no plans, as I understand it, to get rid of 93,000 more civil servants post-COVID than there were before. That's a whole layer of middle management. That is not frontline services. And the same in the NHS. Nobody wants to see frontline services cut. We want to see the heroic people at the front line better rewarded and better equipped. But there's all that stuff in the middle. And you can't say this is down to nasty Tories. This is a bureaucracy, this is a system, this is an establishment that is out of control. And we need to be honest about it. And it's not about nasty Tories. It's about let's admit that the NHS is not in great shape.
Nelufar?
I agree. The NHS is not in great shape and something needs to be done about it. And that's why I believe that, listen, I'm not a Labour voter. I want to be very clear on that. But I do think that I trust this government under Reeves, under West steering, far more in order to balance the books than I ever did the Tory government. And this isn't a slight on the Tories per se. This is about the amount of corruption, the amount of waste. You have the PPE scandal that went on for ages. You have entire billions lost to corruption under Boris Johnson's government. So a white paper suggested this. So I think this is more about a culture change, about a cleaning house and starting again, and that needs time. And I agree with Lorraine that people feel poorer, public services have been degraded to this point, but it's going to take some time. If not her, then maybe someone else. But ultimately, the Labour Party have a difficult set of situations on their hands. And I don't
think anyone would disagree with that. It's not an easy task. That's certainly true. Let's go to Ian in Cambridgeshire. Hello, Ian. Morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I completely agree with that last point. I must admit, I don't vote Labour myself, but I think no matter who's going to be our Chancellor, if someone else comes in, replaces Rachel, I don't think necessarily they're going to be a better Chancellor than Rachel is currently. But I think we should be looking at stopping the amount of money we're sending out of the country and maybe invest it back into the country, try and fix things first.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that you're ringing in to say that, and just as, we heard yesterday that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is promising support to Ukraine for 100 years, and you're talking about money to other countries.
I know. I think it's nice that we're supporting people. Obviously, in Britain at the moment, we find ourselves in a much better position than some countries, but we're getting poorer and poorer, but we keep trying to please other people, and then all we're doing is just taxing the British people, because we know that the British people will just end up paying it because we have to. There's no other way around it. We're just trying to get more and more out of Britain and sending more and more abroad.
Thanks, Ian, very much indeed for calling. After the break, we're going to take even more of your calls. Your calls on Rachel Reeves. Do you think the Chancellor should be given more time to fix the economy, or do you simply worry that she's not up to the job? 0207 862 2222. That's the number you need to speak to us today. And Nelufar, so far we've heard from callers, some who think that she's been in there long enough to make a considerable difference and hasn't done it.
It's simply not the case. I mean, it took a while to have the budget come out in the first place. We've had it out since October. She's committed to £40 billion of raising taxes. And so there's a lot that has to happen. Look, we haven't even started to see the full effects of what these plans and these policies are. How can we possibly assume that they've been a success? We can hazard a guess and we can decide based on our political lineage what we think. But it's simply put, then not enough time has lapsed for us to be able to make decisions on this.
All right, let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Stephen on the line in Cheshire. Hello, Stephen.
Good morning, Vanessa, and good morning to you all. I just want to say, Rachel Reeves, it's not the question whether she's up to the job. Her policy making currently is indicating that her policy making is well adrift. And I think, to be quite honest with you, the Labour MPs and the Labour Party as a whole are in denial with public opinion and the concerns about what's happening. And the other thing I want to say, which I think is very important, is the British people are fed up of Labour when they get into power, and likewise the Conservatives, blaming each other for historic national debt that's been created and not being able to run this country properly. Somebody somewhere has got to put the brakes on and look at how public tax is being used, because, let's face it, we're paying more than ever before. There's a bolt-on tax to everything our money touches virtually. Where is all this money going?
I mean, that's a hell of a good question, actually. Let's ask Guto about this. When we pay tax, lots of us resent it deeply. Some of us are happy to do it. But all of us, just as Stephen, I think quite rightly said, would like to know where it's going. And if we knew where it was going, we might feel better about paying it.
Exactly. And the truth is, an awful lot of it goes straight out the door without much influence from Rachel Reeves nor any other Chancellor, because we have, for instance, I think it's a scandal, 2.8 million people who are deemed too ill to work. They're all being paid for by the people who do work. Then you've got other people on different benefits. The benefits bill is enormous.
So let's just mention Tony Blair, who spoke out about this week and said some of the people who say that they are too mentally disabled to work actually are simply going through what he called life issues. And lots of lives have very sad issues. And everybody's life has very difficult things that you have to somehow traverse. But it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be laid off work and on benefits. I mean, I wonder whether Nelufar will have a different view of that.
Guto, how much money would it raise to get all those people back into work?
Oh,
billions and trillions.
Tens of billions of pounds.
It's not it's 40 billion that she needs to be able to fund the next budget, right? It wouldn't touch the sides of that. I understand what you're doing. You're pointing out...
No, billions.
I understand that, but it wouldn't be the amount that she needs. It could definitely be one thing she should look at, but I'm not convinced that these... Someone said immigration earlier, or to kill prisoners. All these ideas are really important, but they have to be...
No, but welfare costs about 40% of all government
Most
spending.
of it goes to the pension fund, right? So most of the benefits money goes into pensions. That's a fact. Unless you're looking, or you want to talk about reducing the pension burden that this country pays,
We're going to be talking about pensions later in the show, so we won't do that yet. All right, let's move on to Trevor, who's on the line in Hertfordshire. Hi, Trevor. Good morning.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. What do you think of Rachel Reeves and her performance so far?
Well, they need to give her time. She's been there 5 months. 5 months. You can't expect to run a country in 5 months. The Tories ruined this country. My wife's a teacher for 30 years. The schools are falling apart. The teachers are leaving left, right and centre. My son's a teacher. They're leaving his school. It's a disgrace, the way the Tories have run this country.
Explain, Trevor, because you're there observing your wife, observing your son, and you say that the Tories ruined our schools. What did you see happen while you were watching what was going on with your wife and your son? What did they do wrong, do you think?
Well, to blame the Tories for all this mess we're in. Prisons are
blaming them. I hear you blaming them for mess. You've certainly said so loudly and clearly. But I'm saying you said they ruined our school system. In what way? What did they do?
Well, they're not repairing the schools. There's lots of things wrong with schools. The schools are falling apart in Stephen, some of them.
The fabric of the schools. So the building materials, the walls, the ceilings, that kind of thing.
They run down like hospitals. It's disgusting.
And what convinces you that Rachel Reeves has done anything or will do anything to repair those issues?
She needs time to sort this country out. What the Tories have left a mess.
All right. OK, so just more time. And so you would not judge her yet. That's fine and that's fair. Let's go to John in Kent. Hi, John.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, she's just stolen £250 off me, so she's got to go. But she's not the worst. The worst is putting Ed Miliband in charge of energy. He's the one who destroyed the Labour Party, and they're giving him billions or something to spend on useless information.
So you think she's pretty bad and he's even worse?
Oh, she's bad and he's worse. And Keir Starmer, he's not much better either.
Really? And so are you imagining that the economy will tank even more dramatically, that stagflation will engulf all of us? And as I say it, I'm praying that my words do not come to fruition, obviously.
Well, I'll take your word on that, Vanessa.
I don't want to give my word on that. I don't want any of that to happen. My goodness me, definitely not. So you're feeling worried and nervous, it sounds like, John.
Well, I'm an old age pensioner, you see, and I can only put the heating on every couple of days a week.
And at this moment, do you have the heating on right now?
No, we don't. No, because it's not freezing.
All right, thank goodness for small mercies. At least it's not freezing today. John, thank you so much for ringing. Excellent to hear from you. And actually, you'll want to carry on listening because we're going to be talking about pensions in a minute. Thank you so much for all your calls on this subject.